Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Blog Podcast. Today is Tuesday, March 5th, 2019. Today I'm going to recap yesterday's college basketball games and look ahead to tonight's slate. NBA, NHL, spring training, a major possible injury to an American League contender, and a big-name safety hits the free agent market. All right, to college hoops we go. Number 2, Virginia defeats Syracuse 79-53. Virginia, maybe the favorite for the number 1 overall seed right now. 27-2 on the year. Syracuse 19-11. Kyle Guy led the way with 25 for Virginia, and Tyus Battle had 11 for Syracuse. A-Sun quarterfinal, North Florida defeats Alabama 76-66. I was right on this one. I said that North Florida would advance, and now they're 16-16 on the year, and UNA finishes the year, its first season in the Division I at 10-22. Garrett Sams had 18 for UNF, and Jamari Blackman had 15 for North Alabama. A-Sun quarterfinal, Liberty defeats Jacksonville 72-58. Liberty 26-6, Jacksonville 12-20. Georgie Pacheco Ortiz had 16 for Liberty, and Jace Hogan had 13 for Jacksonville's. Liberty advances to the semifinals. NJIT upsets Florida Gulf Coast 83-78 in the A-Sun quarterfinals, and NJIT 21-11, Florida Gulf Coast 14-18. DeAndre Wilson had 26 for NJIT, and Dinero Merceris had 27 for Gulf Coast as NJIT advances to the semifinal. Maryland Eastern defeats Morgan State 78-73. Morgan State 6-24. UMass goes to 6-24. Morgan State 9-19. Brian Uria had 18 for UMass, and Morgan State's Isaiah Burks led the way with 17. Norfolk State defeats Delaware State 74-66. Norfolk State 19-11. Delaware State 5-23. Mastadi Pitt had 17 for Norfolk, and Jonathan Mitchell had 14 for Delaware State. Lipscomb defeats Kennesaw State 86-71 in the A-Sun quarterfinal. Lipscomb advances to the semifinals, now 24-6 on the year, and Kennesaw State finishes at 6-26. Garrison Matthews had 26 for Lipscomb, and Danny Lewis had 25 for Kennesaw State. Jackson State defeats Arkansas Pine Bluff 57-56. Jacksonville State is 11-18, and Arkansas Pine Bluff is 12-18. Benji Wallace had 16 for Jackson State, and Martavius McKnight had 18 for Pine Bluff. Grambling defeats Mississippi Valley State 77-75. Grambling 14-15. Mississippi Valley State 6-25. Dallas Polk Hillard had 26 for Grambling, and Dante Scott had 24 for Mississippi Valley State. Texas Southern defeats Alabama A&M 66-61. Texas Southern 18-11. Alabama A&M 5-25. Jeremy Combs had 15 for Texas Southern, and Andre Kennedy had 26 for Alabama A&M. Number 8, Texas Tech defeats Texas 70-51. Texas Tech 25-5. Texas 16-14. Jarrett Culver had 16 for Tech, and Matt Coleman III had 16 for Texas. Number 18, Kansas State defeats TCU 64-52. Kansas State 23-7, TCU 18-12. Barry Brown Jr. had 16 for Kansas State, and Kevin Samuel had 17 for TCU. Prairie View defeats Alabama State 96-69. Prairie View 17-12. Alabama State 11-16. Darius Williams had 20 for Prairie View, and Leon Daniels had 20 for Alabama State. Montana defeats Northern Arizona 66-64. Montana 22-7. Northern Arizona 9-20. Michael Oguni had 22 for Montana, and Carlos Hines had 18 for Northern Arizona. Montana State defeats Southern Utah 90-83. Montana State 14-14. Southern Utah 14-14. Harold Frey had 32 for Montana State, and Cameron Aloyatin had 22 for Southern Utah. Idaho State defeats Weber State 78-74. Idaho State 10-17. Weber State 16-13. Belint Moskin had 20 for Idaho State, and Jarrett Harding had 18 for Weber State. Tonight's slate, 6 o'clock on Fox Sports 1, Xavier at Butler. Butler Sarah by 4. Xavier's been playing very good basketball, and I think they're going to steal this one on the road. 7 o'clock, ESPN. Wake Forest at number 4 Duke. Duke's favorite by 26. Zion Williamson looks like he's going to be back for the Blue Devils tonight, and I'm taking Duke to win and cover. That crowd's going to be fired up. Zion's going to have a chip on his shoulder and lead Duke to a victory. ESPN 2, Nebraska at number 9, Michigan State. Michigan State's favored by 13. I think they're going to win and cover. ESPN U, number 15, Virginia Tech, and number 14, Florida State. That's a big game. For some reason, that's not on ESPN or ESPN 2. That's probably because of Zion Williamson, and they want to give Michigan State some love. I think that this game should be on 2. Zion should be on ESPN, and then move disappointing Nebraska over to ESPNU against Michigan State. So I think ESPN made a mistake with the ESPN2, ESPNU broadcasting tonight. Florida State's a 4-point favorite. Virginia Tech still missing Justin Robinson. So I'm going to go with Florida State to win and cover. Number 19, Buffalo at Ohio. Buffalo's favored by 12. I think they'll win and cover. Bowling Green at Akron. Ball State at Eastern Michigan. Albany at Binghamton. Stony Brook at Hartford. Maine at New Hampshire. SEC Network, South Carolina at Texas A&M. A&M's a 4-point favorite. I think they'll win and cover. I just don't like the Gamecocks away from home. Northern Illinois at Central Michigan. Western Michigan at Toledo. Rhode Island at St. Joe's. St. Joe's is a 1.5 favorite at home. Rhode Island's been playing good ball. I'm going to take them to win here on the road as a 1.5 underdog. Kent State at Miami of Ohio. Big South first round. Longwood at Hampton. Hampton's a 10.5-point favorite. That is a huge number. But Longwood's been so bad in conference play of late. I'm taking Hampton to win and cover to advance to the quarterfinal. Big South first round. South Carolina upset at Charleston Southern. Charleston Southern's a 14.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Charleston Southern to win and cover. UNC Asheville at Presbyterian. Presbyterian's a 16-point favorite. I'm going to take Presbyterian to win and cover. And by the way, Longwood Hampton is the 9-8. SC Upstate and Charleston Southern is the 11-6. And UNC Asheville Presbyterian is the 10-7 in that conference tournament. Patriot League first round. Holy Cross at Lafayette. This is a pick'em. I don't get why this is a pick'em. Holy Cross is your 10. Lafayette is your 7. I'm going to take Lafayette to win at home. I think Holy Cross has been overrated, and they did not have a good finish to conference play. So give me Lafayette at home. Loyola, Maryland at Boston University. That is your 8-9 game in the first round of the Patriot League men's tournament. BU's a 4-point favorite. 4.5. I'm going to take BU to win and cover. 7:15 UMass Lowell at Vermont. 7:30 VCU at George Mason. VCU is a 5-point road favorite at George Mason. George Mason's fallen off of late, and VCU's playing for an at-large. Give me VCU to win and cover. 8 o'clock, number 3 North Carolina at Boston College. UNC is a 10.5-point favorite. This game screams trap. Boston College has been good at trap games this year. I'm going to take Carolina to win and cover. I think Carolina is pushing for a 1 seed, and they're hoping for some weird losses with Duke, Virginia, and then obviously Gonzaga, and then Kentucky, Tennessee are also in play for a 1 seed. And obviously Carolina has the big one against Duke at home on Saturday, and Zion Williamson's supposed to be back for it. This is totally a trap game. Everyone's going to be on Boston College. But I'm going to take Carolina to win and cover, but barely. Number 11, Purdue at Minnesota. Purdue's a 5-point favorite. Minnesota's desperate in their home. I'm going to take Minnesota to win and cover, obviously, as Purdue drops here on the road. Stephen F. Austin and Abilene Christian. Horizon League quarterfinal. UIC at Green Bay. Green Bay is a 3-point favorite. This is the 4-5 matchup. Green Bay's the 4, UIC's the 5. I'm going to take Green Bay to win and cover the 3 points. IUPUI at Wright State is the 8-1 matchup. Wright State's only a 7.5-point favorite. I think that's a steal. Give me Wright State to win and the cover. Pitt at Miami. Miami's favored by 6. They're going to win and cover. Pitt's been a disaster of late. Mississippi State at number 5, Tennessee. Tennessee's an 8-point favorite. I think Tennessee wins and covers, and I think Tennessee is obviously fighting for a 1 seed. Same could be said for number 6, Kentucky, who's at Ole Miss tonight, 9 o'clock ESPN. Kentucky's a 5.5-point favorite. I like how Kentucky's been playing, with the exception of the Tennessee game. I'm going to take Kentucky to win and cover here against a faltering Ole Miss team that's on the bubble. ESPN2, number 13, Kansas at Oklahoma. Kansas is a 1.5-point favorite. Oklahoma's desperate at this point, and I think they're going to pull off the home upset here. ESPNU, Auburn at Alabama. Auburn's a 2.5-point favorite. Alabama's on the bubble. I think they're going to pull off a home upset. CBS Sports Network, East Carolina at Wichita State. Wichita's favored by a whopping 14.5 points. I'm going to take Wichita to win, but East Carolina to cover. Utah State at Colorado State. Utah State's a 7.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Utah State to win and cover. And 11 o'clock, ESPN2, number 17, Nevada at Air Force. Nevada's a 13.5-point favorite. This is obviously a trap spot for Nevada. I think they'll win and cover because I'm not sold on Air Force whatsoever. NBA. We had 7 games on the slate last night. The Nets killed the Mavericks 127-88, an impressive win for Brooklyn, 33-33 on the year. Dallas was 27-36. DeMar Carroll had 22 to lead the Nets. Off the bench, Karis LeVert had 18 off the bench. Spencer Dinwiddie had 16 off the bench. Joe Harris had 11. Rodions Caruso had 19. D'Angelo Russell had 13 with 11 assists. Meanwhile, for Dallas, Dwight Powell had 20. Luka Doncic had 16. Jalen Brunson had 10. And their bench didn't do anything. The Heat defeat the Hawks 114-113. I came darn close with the moneyline pick of the Atlanta Hawks yesterday. They lost by 1 point. They dropped to 22-43. Miami improves to 29-34. Dwayne Wade finding a bit of a fountain of youth of late. 23 points in the win. Deion Waiters had 14, Josh Richardson had 19, Justice Winslow had 18, and Kelly Olynyk had 12. I wonder if that buzzer beater against the Warriors will ignite Miami a little bit into the playoffs. Dwayne Dedmon had 14, as well as Trae Young. Kent Bazemore had 18, Kevin Huerter had 13. Off the bench, Vince Carter had 21, including 7 3-pointers, and DeAndre Bembry had 11 off the bench. The Spurs defeat the Nuggets 104-103. San Antonio survives. They're 36-29. Denver's 42-21. Denver, obviously, I thought they were looking ahead a little bit. The Golden State. Well, 2 games ahead, I should say. LaMarcus Aldridge, 22 points and 9 boards. DeMar DeRozan, 24.6 boards and 7 assists. Derek White had 11. Off the bench, Rudy Gay had 14. Meanwhile, for Denver, Nikola Jokic had 22 with 10 boards. Jamal Murray had 25 with 8 assists. Will Barton had 12. And off the bench, Malik Beasley had 15. The Suns upset the Bucks 114-105. Phoenix no longer has the worst record at 14-51. Milwaukee's 14-16. Kelly Oubre led the way with 27 points and 13 boards. DeAndre Ayton 19 points and 12 boards. Tyler Johnson had 13. Devin Booker had 22 with 7 assists. Off the bench, Justin Jackson had 16. Meanwhile, Giannis Antetokounmpo 21 points, 13 boards, 6 assists, and Giannis fouled out. Brook Lopez had 10. Eric Bledsoe had 15 against his former team. Malcolm Brogdon had 19. Nikola Mirotic off the bench had 13. Ersan Ilyasova off the bench had 11 with 10 boards. And Tony Snell off the bench had 10. Phoenix actually sweeps the season series of Milwaukee. Don't forget Jamal Crawford had the buzzer beater in Milwaukee earlier in the year. Pelicans upset the Jazz 115-112. That's another big NBA upset. New Orleans 30-36. Utah 36-27. Julius Randle had 30 points with 8 boards and 5 assists. Anthony Davis had 15 with 11 boards. Elfrid Payton had 10. Drew Holiday had 30. Bench didn't do anything and they still won. Donovan Mitchell had 19, as well as Rudy Gobert and his 19 boards. Derek Favors had 16. Off the bench, Jay Crowder and Kyle Korver each had 20. The Kings defeat the Knicks 115-108. Sacramento goes to 32-31. Big win for them. Knicks dropped to 13-51. Buddy Hield, 28 points, 6 boards, 7 assists. De'Aaron Fox had 16. Bogdan Bogdanovic had 11. Harrison Barnes had 22 with 10 boards. Off the bench, Harry Giles had 17. Meanwhile, for the Knicks, Alonzo Trier off the bench had 29 points and 8 boards. Dennis Smith Jr. had 18. Kevin Knox and Damian Dotson each had 11. The Clippers upset the Lakers 113-105. I think this is the nail in the Lakers' coffin as they drop to 30-34 and 5.5 out of the playoffs. And Clippers, give them their credit. Doc Rivers has to be the coach of the year at this point of the season, as the perception was that they gave up. but in reality, they didn't, as they go to 37-29. Danilo Gallinari had 23 points and 6 boards. Patrick Beverley had 13. Landry Shaman had 12. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander had 14. Off the bench, Lou Williams had 21. And Montrezl Harrell had 14. Meanwhile, for the Lakers, LeBron James, 27 points, 8 boards, 7 assists. Kyle Kuzma had 13. Rajon Rondo, 24 points, 12 assists, and 10 boards. And off the bench, Josh Hart had 17. Brandon Ingram did not play due to a right shoulder injury. Maybe that injury cost the Lakers a possible victory. Tonight's slate, you have 6 games. 7 o'clock, the Bulls at the Pacers. The Magic at the 76ers. Rockets at the Raptors on TNT. Toronto's a 3.5-point favorite. Tough call here. If Kawhi Leonard plays, the Raptors will win and cover. If Kawhi Leonard does not play, the Rockets will pull off the road upset. That's what it comes down to me, and I think Leonard will play, so give me Toronto to win and cover. Trailblazers at the Grizzlies, Thunder at the Timberwolves, and 10:30 on TNT. You have the Celtics at the Warriors. Golden State's laying 7.5. No Klay Thompson tonight due to a shoulder injury. I don't think that'll be a problem for Golden State. It looked like it was going to be a problem against Philly the other day, but they survived courtesy of Kevin Durant. And I think Kevin Durant will lead the Warriors against his perhaps future teammate in Kyrie Irving and the Celtics with a double-digit win over the free-falling Boston Celtics. So give me the Warriors to win and cover there. NHL, only 2 games last night. The Oilers defeat the Sabres 4-3. Edmonton is now 29-30-7. Buffalo 30-28-8. Number 1 star of the game with 2 goals, Jack Eichel. Number 2 star of the game with a goal and assist, Darnell Nurse. Number 3 star of the game with 2 assists, Connor McDavid. Maple Leafs defeat the Flames 6-2 in the Battle of Canada. Toronto 41-21-4. Calgary 41-18-7. A great win for Toronto. Number 1 star of the game with a hat trick, Tyler Ennis. Number 2 star of the game with 35 saves on 37 shots, Frederick Anderson. Number 3 star of the game with a goal and 2 assists, Mitchell Marner. Tonight's slate is big. At 7 o'clock, the Hurricanes at the Bruins. Huge game. 2 teams battling for playoff spots. I think the Bruins are a lock. Hurricanes are no lock. I think the no locks in the East right now, out of the teams that are battling, are Philly. Yes, I consider Philly in the mix. Carolina, Columbus, Montreal, and Pittsburgh. Those 5 are battling for those last spots, and even you could throw a 6th team in the Islanders in there. I think the Capitals are almost a sure thing, but not really a lock like Boston, Toronto, and obviously Tampa Bay are. But I think you have the 3 locks and then 6 or 7 teams battling for that last spot, depending on how you feel about Philly and whether or not the Islanders and the Capitals are locks or not. Blue Jackets at the Devils, big game for Columbus. They need that one. Senators at the Islanders. Islanders need that one. Panthers at the Penguins. Penguins need that one. 7:30, the Jets at the Lightning. Stanley Cup final preview, perhaps. Those are big games for both those teams. Winnipeg, obviously, trying for the top seed in the Western Conference. And now with their new addition of Kevin Hayes, they're starting to look a little better. Tampa Bay, I think, has everything locked up at this point, but I just think that they still want to show up and prove themselves as the best team in the league, especially after Boston kicked their butt the other night with their backup goalie in Louis Domingue. And Domingue's not that bad. He just had a meltdown in a 90-second span, which led to that Bruins win the other night. 8 o'clock, NBC has sent the Wild at the Predators. That's a big game for Nashville at home, fighting with the Jets for that division. I'm going to say that Nashville gets the win at home. 8:30, Rangers at the Stars. Big game for Dallas. For their sake, for the Western Conference playoffs, they're no lock. 9 o'clock, Red Wings, Avalanche. Colorado's in the mix in the West. Ducks at the Coyotes. The Coyotes also in the mix in the West. And then 10:30, you have the Canadiens at the Kings, with the Canadiens fighting for their playoff lives. So every game on the slate is meaningful. And I love this time of the year in hockey. Like I said, the 7 o'clock slate, you have all those Eastern teams that are no playoff locks necessarily battling. You have the Hurricanes at the Bruins. Hurricanes, no playoff lock, trying to get in. Blue Jackets at the Devils. Blue Jackets need that game. Senators at the Islanders. Islanders need that game, especially after losing 2 games over the weekend. Panthers at the Penguins. Penguins, despite the injuries, need that game. Like I said, the Jets at the Lightning. Lightning, I think, have everything wrapped up. They just want to show off, I guess. And then Winnipeg, obviously, fighting for that Central Division. Predators hosting the Wild. Wild are still in the mix for the West. And the Predators, obviously, in the mix to win that division in the West. The Central. And then the Rangers at the Stars. Dallas fighting for playoff lives. Ducks and Coyotes at 9 o'clock. Coyotes playing for their playoff lives. Red Wings, Avalanche. Avalanche playing for their playoff lives. And then 10:30, obviously, the Montreal Canadiens playing for their playoff lives as they take on the Kings out west at the Staples Center. Now we'll move on to spring training. I'm going to go over notable results from yesterday in spring training. Orioles over the Twins 9-4. Dylan Bundy got a win in that game. 3 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, and 3 strikeouts. C.J. Cron homered for the Twins, and he homered not once but twice. And Kyle Gibson pitched for Minnesota, 2 innings, a hit, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. Astros over the Braves, 4-3. Wade Miley got the win, Julio Teheran with the loss. Derek Fisher homered again in that game. Good for him. And you had Ronald Acuna homer for the Braves. Miley 2 2/3 innings, 3 hits, a walk, and 2 strikeouts. Julio Teheran 3 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, and 4 strikeouts. Tigers over the Cardinals 9-5. Colton Wong homered, Mickey Matuk homered, Javier Candelario homered, Matuk homered again, Jordy Mercer homered. Adam Wainwright started for the Cardinals, 3 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, a walk, and 3 strikeouts. Michael Fulmer, 3 innings, 4 hits, an earned run, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. Marlins over the Nationals 9-8. Lewis Brinson's off to a good start to spring. He homered twice again. Wei Chen pitched 2 innings, 5 hits, 4 earned runs, and a walk. Jeremy Hellickson 3 innings, 2 hits, an earned run, and 4 strikeouts for Washington. Mets over the Astros 7-4. George Springer homered. Peter Alonso homered. Corey Oswalt, 2 1/3 innings, 4 hits, an earned run, 3 strikeouts. Mets had a split squad. They lose at home 9-3 to Boston. Eduardo Rodriguez started for Boston and got the win, 2 innings, 3 hits, and 2 strikeouts. Steven Matz, 2 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts. Tim Tebow played in this game. Angels and White Sox tied at 6. Among notable things, Trevor Cahill pitched 3 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 strikeouts for the Angels. Reynaldo Lopez, 3 1/3 innings, 4 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. Cubs over the Reds 9-1. Albert Almora Jr. homered. Rockies Rangers tied at 4. Rougned Odor homered. Herman Marquez started for Colorado, 3 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, a walk, and 3 strikeouts. Edinson Volquez started for the Rangers, 2 innings, a hit, and a strikeout. Dodgers over the Giants 8-2. Evan Longoria homered. Julio Urias started for the Dodgers, 2 innings, a hit, an earned run, 3 strikeouts. Jeff Samardzija, 3 innings, a hit, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts for Samardzija. Padres over the Indians 8-0. Joey Lucchesi got the win. Shane Bieber with the loss. Bieber, 3 innings, 2 hits, an earned run, 4 strikeouts. Lucchesi, 3 innings, a hit, and 3 strikeouts. Reds and Diamondbacks tied at 3. Matt Kemp homered for Cincinnati. Tanner Roark started, 3 innings, a hit, and 2 strikeouts. Luke Weaver started for the Diamondbacks, 3 innings, 2 hits, an earned run, and 3 strikeouts. Huge baseball news in the American League. Luis Severino was supposed to start for the Yankees today in spring training, and he got scratched due to right shoulder inflammation. That is bad news for the Yankees. And if that is a major injury like a Tommy John surgery, that is a humongous blow to their chances of breaking their 10-year championship drought. But if he's out for the year, potentially, I do not think the Yankees season would be a lost cause by any stretch. Dallas Keuchel's still on the free agent market. They could sign him to a one-year deal. Gio Gonzalez is still out there. There's trades you can make maybe for Madison Bumgarner. This is still a contender in the American League, even without potentially Severino. But if they lose him for a couple months, then I'd sign either Keuchel or Gonzalez. And if this is just a fluke injury, a freak injury that won't affect into the regular season, then I'd sign a depth guy anyway, just in case. But anyway, this does not look like a promising sign for the New York Yankees in spring trading after everything's gone pretty well for the Yanks in spring training up until this point with the Severino injury. But they have to hold their breaths to make sure it's not super serious. If it's not super serious, Yankees catch a huge break, by the way. From one New York team that's good to a New York team that's very bad, or might be very bad going into 2019, that's the New York Football Giants, who are not placing the franchise tag on Landon Collins, making him an unrestricted free agent. That'd be a huge loss for the Giants. There are a lot of teams that are offering third-round picks for Collins last year, but the Giants didn't want to pull the trigger for whatever reason. I think they thought that Landon was worth more than that, but they probably should have traded him for at least got something for him, and now they're not even going to franchise him because Eli Manning's stuck on the boards with a $23 million cap hit, and he's clogging up most of their cap space. And they know they're going to save some of it for rookies. And I know they want to draft a quarterback. Just from reading the tea leaves. They have to eventually pay Saquon Barkley, who is more important than Landon Collins by all counts, in my opinion, because Barkley's the best running back in the league. Collins is it's definitely top 10, maybe a top 5 safety in the league, but he isn't the best player at his position in the NFL, unlike Barkley. And I can see why they're letting him go. I think that he is somebody that isn't really a fit for what they want to do. He had trouble in coverage last year. He's been injury prone throughout his career despite making 3 Pro Bowls, which is a very good accomplishment, by the way. But, hey, it's a business decision, and the general managers and front offices know, or we think they know more than we do. And Gettleman had a similar situation where he initially placed the franchise tag on Josh Norman in Carolina. Then he took it away and made him a free agent, and that proved to be the right deal, as Norman proved to be a one-year wonder in Carolina, as he's been a major bust with the Redskins. But Collins has made 3 Pro Bowls, so there's a difference between Norman and Collins, and they play different positions too. Norman obviously a cornerback, and Collins is a safety. And Collins is a better player than Norman right now, and is a better player than Norman was in 2015. So this would be a big loss for the Giants, and they would have to replace him somehow in the draft, or if they sign another safety in free agency, as they're projected with not so much cap space for this offseason. So it's going to be interesting to see how they replace him. And now my best bet of the day, brought to you by FanDuel. I did not win last night because the Pelicans upset the Jazz and the Suns upset the Bucks. So now I have to go in a different direction. I'm going to go college basketball. I'm going to take Buffalo, Hampton, Presbyterian, Michigan State, Abilene Christian, Charleston Southern, Vermont, Toledo, North Carolina, although I'm not super about Carolina tonight, Wichita, Nevada, and then I'll go in the NBA and do Indiana and Golden State. That's 13 teams. Wagering $1 with a payout of $5.31 with plus 430 odds. That's it for the podcast today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping all the college basketball, NBA, NHL, and spring training. Maybe we'll have more news on Luis Severino. And obviously we're going to go over who was franchise tagged and who wasn't. And obviously my best bet for tomorrow too. Hope you guys have a great day, everybody.